Greetings pilots, welcome to the Imperial Academy. Today's video is a continuation of my previous video talking about the TIE Interceptor, TIE Fighter and the Imperial Starfighter Corps. Today we will be looking at the TIE Bomber and going into the history and characteristics of this TIE variant, what features it has and what it does. We will be looking at the pilots that fly them and what skills and abilities they need to do so, and we will delve into their role within a TIE squadron and how they contribute to battle scenarios and the Empire as a whole. But with that, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy Empire content or just Star Wars content in general, and maybe feel free to share this video with other like-minded Star Wars fans to show your allegiance to the Empire. But without further ado, let's talk about TIE Bombers. The TIE Bomber is manufactured by Sienna Fleet System, which manufacture all of the other variants of TIE and the TIE Fighter family for the Empire. The TIE Bomber is a specialised variant of TIE responsible for dealing heavy offensive damage to large structures such as capital ships, stations or buildings, and are usually the determining factor in space battles as to who wins. The TIE Bomber can very loosely trace its origin back to the Coensier manufactured BLTB Y-Wing fighter bomber of the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars. These starfighters were used by the clone pilots of that era to assault and destroy capital ships and blockades with hard-hitting sieges that utilised bombs and powerful explosives that were able to crack the shields and hulls of capital ships. They were used prominently during ground operations, in which they usually had to clear a path for the clone armies using torpedoes or bombs to push the enemy defences or assaults back, and as such they were found to be very helpful and played important roles in space battles during the Clone Wars. With the rise of the Empire, these fighters were decommissioned in favour of the Sienna-manufactured TIE SA bomber, which played a very important role in a TIE squadron and within the Empire as a whole, much like its predecessor. So let's talk about the characteristics of the TIE bomber. This variant of TIE is much larger and slightly slower than the other members of the TIE family, with it measuring 7.9 metres long, 10.6 metres wide and 5.4 metres high, and being designed to carry bombs and a multitude of different payloads. It's in the name after all. TIE bombers are very versatile when it comes to carrying and transporting bombs. These bombs are stored in the fighter's ordnance bay, which are split into two sections located in the bottom hull of the ship. The forward ordnance bay can carry up to 8 concussion missiles or 4 proton torpedoes. The primary ordnance bay can hold up to 8 concussion missiles, 8 proton torpedoes, 8 proton bombs, 6 orbital mines or 64 thermal detonators, each individually. If needed, these ordnance bays can also house stormtroopers to transport them to the surface or wherever they need to land. The design of the TIE Bomber is similar to other TIEs, with the light grey colour scheme in the hull and the darker black in the solar array. And speaking of such, you may notice that like the TIE Interceptor, its array is bent at the top and bottom to make them more manoeuvrable and efficient within atmosphere, which is especially useful when carrying payloads and so on. It has 2 forward LS-1 laser cannons, which are assisted by the T-S7B targeting computer, which is used to lock on and target enemy fighters that are very manoeuvrable and at far distances. For dropping bomb, they have an integrated 398X bomb sight to accurately drop bombs on locations which require much more precise timing, as they could potentially miss their target if it is moving in a tight spot or heavily defended. The ordnance bay is also able to fire missiles and torpedoes forward through that hole that is present on the front, which is useful for taking out unsuspecting starfighters that may be too fast or too far ahead. As well as that, the ordnance bay can be changed into a small passenger cabin capable of carrying up to 6 personnel, and is very useful as stormtrooper transport to the ground battles that require fighter support, quick turnaround times and protection against enemy fire. For the pilots, the bomber comes equipped with many features that are not present in other TIE fighters because of its larger size and interior space, which has room for life support, built-in holonet connection, long-range communication comm, pilot ejection system, increased ration and emergency storage space and so on. These additions are seen as a luxury among other TIE pilots and makes the TIE Bomber a somewhat desirable fighter to fly with its combined power, manoeuvrability and speed. And speaking of speed, it comes with 2 P-S4 ion engine, allowing it to reach speeds of up to 850 km per hour. Overall, the TIE Bomber is an extremely versatile starfighter, which is very useful and powerful if used correctly within battle operations. So with that, let's talk about the pilots that fly them and what role it plays out in the field. TIE Bomber pilots are rigorously trained to be aware of their surroundings and are proficient in timing when it comes to dropping bombs and different types of payloads. As such, it is recommended for these pilots to have quick reflexes and reaction time, as they may be dropping bombs on moving or hidden targets. To assist them in this regard, they wear the typical black jumpsuit and armour, which has a built-in HUD that allows these pilots to be more precise when it comes to their timing and hitting their targets. As well as that, the suit comes with a life support pack which allows the wearer to adjust the suit's temperature. It also has a control box on the front of the chest piece connected to 2 pipes which connect to the helmet and provide the wearer with oxygen and other vital elements to stay alive. The helmet comes equipped with a HUD and visual assist as said before, but along with that it features a built-in connection to the HoloNet, night vision, polarization, motion detectors and so on. With the pilot's skills and suit combined, this makes them a very formidable opponent out in battle. While the TIE bomber may be slower and less powerful in dogfights in certain scenarios in battle, when used correctly they can really pack a punch and even outfly other starfighters within the fighter corps. So let's talk about the role they play out in the battlefield. In battle, TIE bombers are usually the main line of attack or defence, often being deployed first along with fighter support to carpet bomb different targets such as bases and capital ships to weaken them so that they can be destroyed through capital ship fire or more bombing runs. They are able to change the outcome of a squadron battle by isolating enemy fighters from each other and leaving them vulnerable to attack from an ally squadron. This anti-emplacement of enemy starfighters allows them to slowly wither down their squadron by shrinking their size one by one and weakening them so that they can be victorious in battle. In a one-on-one dogfight, TIE bombers are at a slight disadvantage, as compared to their counterparts such as X-Wings, A-Wings and Y-Wings, they are slower and less manoeuvrable, and because of this they are usually being accompanied by faster moving and more manoeuvrable TIE fighters, which are able to defend them while they focus on their objective. This does not mean they are not capable of handling themselves in a fight. With their missiles, rockets and firepower they can definitely get the upper hand over their opponents. It just depends on the circumstance and the skills of the pilots that fly them, but nonetheless they are definitely one of the more useful and powerful starfighters within the Empire.